Right, hi again. Right, actually I'm just in the middle of making a little gate out of matchsticks for my matchstick fence. See, next thing is be a sort of style out of matchsticks. Yeah, it'll be interesting to do. Now this particular little video that we're doing at the moment, we're going to pop upstairs in a tick and have a look at the controllers that I use for my railway, because I think for me they work, and it's what I want. May not be what you want, but it may be it's worth looking at. At the last count I had 30 different locomotives, little 040s up to the high speed intercity thingy, so all in between, diesels, steam engines, whatever, and they've been collected over a number of years from when I was in the UK. So I've been here 20 years, so some of them haven't even been run for 20 years. It is the first layout really that I've managed to get anything moving on. That's a lot of locos for me, and they are DC. They're not chipped for DCC, etc. And it was a decision I had to make, whether I wanted to go for DC or DCC. As far as I'm concerned, I can't understand DCC. I can understand that some people like it. Some people have a desire to do whatever it is you can do. There are certain things you can do with DCC, of course, that you can't do with DC. But those certain things, for me, aren't all that interesting. I was looking at the price. I mean, let alone the fact that I'm going to have to, if I wanted to go to DCC, I was starting off from scratch. I don't know, you'd have to think about it a bit more deeply perhaps, but for me, I'd have to change all the points. There's a difference in the point system and my crossovers, etc. There's a difference between the DC and the DCC points. There's no difference in price, they're exactly the same, but if you've got 50 DC points, you then have to buy another 50 DCC points. It's a bit expensive, isn't it? And with 30 locomotives, if I decided to put chips in all of them, waste of time having them if you don't chip them all, isn't it? That would cost me around about £1,000. That's a lot of money, isn't it? And if I wanted to put sound in them, I mean, I don't know, I just looked at the price of some sound chips. They're up at about £100 a piece. Some of them, I didn't look too deeply into it. So that's another, what's that, £3,000? Pounds. What's the point of that then? If I wanted to put 2 engines together to pull a train, if I had an enormous great circuit that would warrant me putting 2 engines in front of, I don't know, 8 coaches, yeah, it might be worth it. But there are very few people who have a circuit of that kind of size to warrant ganging 2 locomotives together to pull a train. So I don't want to do that because my train layout isn't that big. You've seen it. It would look stupid, wouldn't it? What else can you do with... I suppose you can run two engines independent of each other on the same track. I wouldn't want to do that. It's not exactly something that you do in real life, is it? I don't know. No, I wouldn't want to do that. But the difference between the DC and the DCC actually starts from square one. The kind of track layout that you're going to build. Now with DC you have to bear in mind that you do have to switch a point and to isolate a particular engine in a siding before you can run another engine on that engine's line, if you follow me, okay? So that is different from DCC, where you don't have to think about isolating sections. But all sidings have points, and as such you can always isolate, can't you? I honestly believe that the hobby is going a little bit lunatic price-wise for people who are just starting up. I can see that you can buy an engine now, that's fine, which isn't DCC chipped. There's an option if you want it, and there's also an option for a sound chip in it as well when you buy it from new. But for me, that's a lot of money. Even on DC, when I'm looking at the cost of controllers for a 4-track, which is basically what I've got upstairs. I've got 3 tracks upstairs. So there's not much difference between a 3 and a 4-track controller price-wise, you know. But if you wanted one for specifically for the sidings and then one for each of the individual tracks, you're talking a 4-track controller. A 4-track controller at the moment is around £200, £250 sterling. I couldn't even justify, I suppose is what I'm looking for, paying that out for a controller. So some of the old controllers which I bought back in the year, I don't know, some of them 30, 40 years old I suppose, have come into their own on the circuit that we have upstairs. I don't use them as controllers, not of the engines. What I've done is I've picked controllers. I believe one is an old Triang, one's an old Hornby, and one's an old Hammett and Morgan. So these things have a controlled DC output, 12 volt, and luckily all 3 of those have an uncontrolled 12 volt DC output. So basically it's a transformer. And those I've used together with pulse width modulator controllers. Yeah, it leaves me a bit wondering what on earth a pulse width modulated controller is. But I tell you, they're the dogs. They're brilliant. They work absolutely superbly, and they're about £5 sterling each, with a reversing switch. So let's go upstairs and let's have a look at how we can get around having to outlay a huge amount of money. I mean, it may not be huge for you, but for me it is. And we'll put an engine on the track. We'll have a look. We'll see how good it is, shall we? Alright, we'll see you upstairs.